Further ado, I'd like to welcome our panelists to the stage. We have with us today Dr. Robert Mather from IUCN and Kun Witun Permpong Sajaren from the Mekong Energy and Ecology Network, and also Kun Cherit Kalayanamit from EGAT, the Electricity Generating Authority of Thailand. And I can feel your questions on your faces, at least on my face, but I'm going to let the audience shoot the first questions, if there's one. Yes, please. Please use the microphone in front of you. Yeah, press the button on the right.
Hello, my name is Anthony Watanabe. I'm a Canadian entrepreneur, and I've been here for 6 weeks.
Welcome to Thailand.
Thank you. Thank you. I have a Thai company called Asia Clean Innovations, focused on clean technology. My question, even before seeing the film, and I think reinforced by one of the comments there around the environmental impact assessment. I was in Kuala Lumpur last week for an adaptation conference, and I heard some very provocative things about the way that EIAs are conducted in the region, and I've actually just bid on some work regarding EIAs. So my question to the panel is, what is the environmental impact assessment supposed to do? Is it doing it? And what needs to change?
Okay, who would like to go first? Please, Kun Cherit Ka.
Introduce myself. My name is Cherit Kalayanamit from Electricity Generating Authority of Thailand, or EGAT. Your question is about the EIA, right? May I inform that in Thailand, the first of environmental impact assessment is established in 1992. Clear? And most of them in Thailand is construction before. So there was no EIA. Okay? And after 1992, the beginning of environmental and social development and have the impact assessment for study. May I inform another things that in each country, I have the PowerPoint I prepare for. I saw this film my first time too, but you have to clear yourself and stay. The first is the Mekong River. Have you seen the film? The first one is the beginning of Mekong River, but it's not called Mekong. It's called Lan Chang, Lanchang. Is from Tibet, and then they have flow into the south of China. It's called Mekong River. After they pass through in this area, pass through from here. It's Lanchang, and then this is Thailand, Myanmar, Laos, Cambodia, and Vietnam. It's beginning between Thailand, Laos, and Myanmar. It's called Mekong. If you understand the topography of this river, the beginning to the end, you know that the flow about 4,350 kilometers from the beginning to the end, and the watershed is covered of about 800 square kilometers. And I'm going to share.
Yeah, I would like to respond directly to the EIA questions. When you're talking about EIA, EIA are individual project based. Right? But if you're looking at the plan on the Mekong, you're talking about 100, right? So the question is about the accumulative impact, which is not including EIA. That's the first one. Secondly, when you're talking about EIA, is a country or national sovereignty based. So we have no EIA that can do transboundary. That's the second point. So then, thirdly, it's also depend on the quality of EIA, which is very much related to how much politics allow them to do. So this is, I would just want to say on that. But then if you're looking at the Pang Moon, you remember the fifth ladder, right? How can that, come out with so-called EIA? So that is something, originally, that is a World Bank funded project, and the owner is IGAT. And that is only 136 megawatt dam, Pang Moon. Originally, they have no concerns about fish. But then the local people are, raising this point. Finally, the World Bank spent something like 20 million baht to build that fifth ladder. We have very much, evaluate and want to recommend the World Bank at that time that they should have a little bit more budget for that. Do you know why? To send the Mekong fish to learn how to jump and climb from North America,
Fish
from the
aerobics.
yeah.
Fish gymnastics.
The fish ladder is from the salmon, but the Mekong fish, they know how to climb.
They're not
So, and if you look at the Sayaburi fish path, even you can see very, very more complex. And we also think that maybe we have to recommend to have a traffic light
for the
on,
fish.
or police, traffic police. Otherwise, the fish don't know how to, it's one way or two way. That is, yeah.
Robert, do you have anything?
Yeah,
to add?
well, just to add, I would reinforce Vitun's points that, we have problems with the quality of individual EIAs in each of the countries, more so in some countries than others. But the real issue when you're talking about a big system like the Mekong is the fact that we have no process for cumulative EIAs, looking at the total impacts of those 100 and something projects together. And again, as Vitun mentioned, no transboundary EIA, no way of doing that, and no agreement between the governments of the four countries, or 5 or 6 countries, including Myanmar and China, to do that. I would also add another issue to that list as well, and that is the capacity of the government agencies to review the EIAs, because at the end of the day, each of these EIAs has to be reviewed and eventually approved by the government agency that has the responsibility to do that in each country. Of course, in a country like Thailand, you have more developed capacity to be able to do that, but in some of the other countries, Laos, Cambodia, and now Myanmar, for example, this is a huge issue. In Myanmar, for example, right now, I mean, you're talking about possibility of up to 44 hydropower dams on the Irrawaddy River, and possibly 9 or 10 on the Salween River. Interestingly, Ministry of Conservation, Environmental Conservation and Forestry, MOCAF in Myanmar, has just recruited 467 new staff to work on EIA processes. But they don't have a lot of experience and they don't have a lot of training, so there's really an issue with that as well.
Another question? If not, then may I follow up with the question of the EIA? I mean, in terms of the World Bank learning from the lessons of the previous lessons of the other dams, and what about the Mekong River Commission? Are they aware of this lack of trans-border EIA, and are they doing anything about it, or is anybody doing anything about it?
Can I have information about the EIA? EIA is like a tools. If you make a house, it's a tool, right? If you want to construction of anything, we have a tools. EIA is true too. EIA is beginning from, I think it's from America, right? And each country they develop to use these tools. The EIA means environmental impact assessment. It's like you guess what is happened after the construction of that thing, like a dams or like a power plant or like a even expressway or road or transmission, anything. But they have a guideline, and I have to clear that about the EIA, and the loan like a World Bank or ADB, they have their own guideline also as well as JBIC. And like and each country they have their own environmental impact assessment and environmental laws and regulation. For Thailand and Laos as well, because I used to work in Laos and EIA for the dam in Laos country. And Laos has like a lesson learned from the past of the dam, and the people who relocate or resettlement, they have like a lesson learned from the beginning that have effect to the people, and then they have the law and regulation and improve. Until now, they still improve. I work in Laos. At the beginning, they used the ADB and World Bank guideline because most of them in Laos PDR they loan the money from these two kind of banks.
คุณวิทูลค่ะ Robert
Sorry, can I just want to add one thing there, and I think you inadvertently there just identified another problem, not really understanding what an EIA is about, because you just said what you do is try and guess what happens. Well, it's not about guessing what might happen. It's about identifying what is likely or probable to happen based on scientific study.
Like easier. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. First of all, you have to recognize that Mekong River is an international river. And actually, we have international river law or water law, or whatever you call, which is the country or the representative country have to agree, right, how to utilize the resource equally and how to protect the environmental consequence. So this is a benefit and duty, right? But unfortunately, the beginning of Mekong in 1995 agreements, China and Myanmar are not part of that, especially China. Because China is taking half of the river, right? And China have took the Mekong River, or treat the Mekong River as their domestic river. And dams on China plan and build 8 dams, which is altogether, took, it's a very, very big amounts of water will be there. Last 2 weeks, you might heard some the information leak at the Chiang San port that the Xinhong Dam in China, which is the last dam, will release 9,000 cubic meter per second down to the Mekong. That is very, usually at the border of the triangle, Golden Triangle, the Mekong water will be about 2,500 cubic meter per second. That is usually. Can you imagine if they release something like nearly 3 times or 3 times? What's going to happen? And the information, instead of inform directly to MRC and the country, Mekong lower country, but it leaked from the China concerns about the navigation business that might cause some problem if, they release big amounts of water down. So that is, for example, that why when you're talking about EIA, it doesn't really work, right? And now, you might know that we have under constructing the first mainstream Mekong Dam. It's called Sayaburi, which is quite serious for us as people who work on this. We move the problem down. In the past, whenever we saw the problem from the upstream, we can say that China, you have to, do this or that. But now, when they start the Sayaburi, China will say, oh, we are, whatever happened, it become blame to the lower one. So that is another big issue for. But how can we, talking about international river on the Mekong, the things become like we heard that China might be willing to talk after they complete all of the project. That is what they say.
Any questions? Yes, please. Can you use a microphone?
So what is the recourse when you do an EIA? Oh, by the way, I'm Mandy Heddle. I'm a teacher teach environmental science at an international school here, and I'm going to be teaching about EIAs in the next couple of weeks. And I do my whole 2-year course on the Mekong, so all about the different aspects. But when the EIA is not approved, and then they go ahead with construction anyway, what recourse is there?
I don't think that's a situation you would encounter. I mean, they normally they won't go ahead with
Okay.
construction until the EIA is improved. So if the EIA is rejected, then it'll be sent back. It'll be improved until such time as it's sufficient to be approved. And part of the EIA process is then you have, an environmental management plan, which would describe all the actions that you would need to take to mitigate those impacts that have been identified in the EIA. What I see is that we never seem to have the situation where an EIA could actually give the result that the project shouldn't go ahead at all. It always ends up just about some changes to the design or the operation of the project to make the impacts less extreme, less severe. But I don't think we've ever yet seen for a large infrastructure project like this an EIA that says the impacts are going to be so severe this project shouldn't go ahead at all, and for the governments of the region to accept that. I think it's very difficult to imagine that kind of situation happening. But the other thing is now, as has been mentioned, we're talking about a large international river, and development decisions always require trade-offs. You gain something, you lose something, and as you see in the film, the film I think raised a lot of questions. It didn't provide too many answers, and that's I think because nobody knows all the answers. Nobody has the right to say that they have all the answers. And it's really up to society as a whole to come up with those answers, to decide in these situations, well, yes, we want electricity, but what price are we prepared to pay for that electricity? But that requires that you go into those trade-offs with full understanding of the situation and full understanding of the likely consequences. And one of the problems there is that it's always easy to value the positive things from hydropower development. How many megawatts you're going to produce, how many dollars of income can that generate? But even then they get it wrong and they overestimate. But fine. But how do you compare that with, how do you value some of the things that we just saw in the film, like the loss of cultural identity, not having a place anymore to worship your ancestors or perform those ceremonies? You can't really put a dollar value on those things. So the trade-offs are quite difficult already, even when it's within one individual country. But now we're in a situation where the trade-offs are between countries. So in the case of Siaburi, for example, you can see very clearly that Thailand and Laos are winners, and Cambodia and Vietnam are losers. Thailand is winning because it's an opportunity for Thailand to make investments in Laos, and it provides some of the electricity that Thailand needs. Laos is winning because it's helping economically to develop the country. It's providing a source of income for them. But the downstream impacts on the fisheries and on the delta will be felt in Cambodia and Vietnam. So how do you organize those transboundary trade-offs? What kind of discussion do you have to reach some kind of conclusion and agreement between the countries about a more equitable way of doing development that optimizes the benefits for people in all four countries. And this is where the Mekong River Commission is supposed to be facilitating that process of discussion, but quite honestly not doing a very good job of it.
Any questions? We have some newcomers. If not, then, oh yes, please, Angela. Can you use the microphone? Push the button, please.
Okay, I'm Angela from IUCN, and I have a question to the three panelists. I would like to know how you see the future, because there are hundreds of dams planned on the Mekong. What is your vision, and how can we try to mitigate some of the projected impacts?
Actually, today we are facing with the ongoing under construction of Sayaburi. Second is going to start soon the Don Sahong, and then the Sesan 2, Lower Sesan 2 is going to move the village that you see declining. So that is the what's going on. And so this is come back to what Robert says, that who lose and who gain. I'm at the Thai. I cannot say that Thai is gain, right? You have to say who Thai, right?
Which ties?
Yeah. Actually, the trade-off that he say is trade-off very much between different group of people, not trade-off between even country, right? The people who fishing, who relying on fishery, is not only in Cambodia but also in Thailand. Yeah, and that is they will lose. It's hard to say people who are getting electricity in the city. You cannot say that they gain, because it depends on how actually we need those electricity from the project that operate. We might not need that, and it might become an extra. Usually, we always have over projection of demand and over capacity. For the future, I have to say that we have learning that whenever we facing with something that unresolvable, we don't have an institutional or any kind of legal framework that we can appeal. You know, this is very hard for us. It become like if we have to deal with the Lao government, the guy who you seen him, it's like we against the wall. We don't know, apart from him, who else we can talk, only him. And then he will say, go ahead, and then that's it. So that is what we would like to raise for you is, I mean, we don't want to say that, you know, we are right or they are wrong, but how can we find a proper, you know, legal or whatever institutional framework that everyone have a voice, and, you know, have proper system that can make, you know, fairness for everyone, or can make sure that quality of the project, whatever EIA, you know, are really, you know, fulfilled with the standard. That is what we are urging for.
Okay. One more question.
Thank you so much. I'm really learning a lot, so thank you so much for these comments. A quick follow-up question to your last point. Under the AEC, is there any possibility of a recourse for that kind of body, that collective decision-making body that might then have a transboundary jurisdiction?
When you say AEC, you mean ASEAN
As
Economic?
an community.
I don't think they are talking about this thing yet. Only things about the ASEAN that they have discussed is about the forest fire in Sumatra, and the smoke is going across the transboundary. They have discussed about that. That's the only transboundary issue that they talking about.
Robert?
Yeah, just to follow up on that, I think in the longer term, I think you're right in the sense that, you know, the ASEAN will have to come to terms with increasingly issues about governance of transboundary resources and transboundary impacts. And over time, but I think it's going to be 10, 20 years, whatever, develop a body of regional law to address some of these things. I mean, much as, with the EC, I think in Europe, it started initially, people were only talking about the economic and trade aspects and everything, and then later on they had to also deal with the environmental aspects and things as well. Another option in perhaps the shorter term is, to look at other international legal instruments, such as the United Nations 1997 Convention on Non-Navigational Uses of International Watercourses. Vietnam is the only country in the region that's ratified this, and it's coming into force this year. I think Cambodia is potentially interested to ratify it. Myanmar is potentially interested to ratify it. Once we get 3 or 4 ASEAN countries already ratifying it, then I think we can have that discussion at the ASEAN level and say, should ASEAN think about this as an ASEAN-wide agenda as well, and all the ASEAN countries as a bloc try and ratify the UN Convention, which has a bit more teeth than the 95 Mekong Agreement.
How do you see the future?
The
with
future.
with the planned dams?
Before future, I have to talk about right now. Okay. Okay. This is a picture you can maybe clear about Thailand. May I explain that if 100% of electricity generating, about 64% is produced from natural gas, and the second one is from lignite in the north of Thailand, and the other one is import coal from another countries. But I have to point at this one. Import from Laos PDR is only about 6.9, or let's say 7% is from electricity from hydropower from Laos PDR. That means it's from the natural resource from Mekong River. Let's say that if you're talking about the electricity, and the other one is who use the electricity in Thailand. Let's say the whole user, the Thailand is 100%. Can you see in the central part, like Bangkok and metropolitan, it's about 30%. In the central part is 43%. In the film, you can recognize that some of the biggest department store, they consume the energy more than the whole country. In the north, it's only 8%, and in the northeast, is connected to the Lao PDR. It's fortunately for the northeastern, because the Lao can help us for electricity by purchase agreement. But in the south, in the south, yeah, okay, only about 9%, okay. And if we consume about the part of industrial is the most one, about 45%. As a recent residency, only 22%. Can you see this picture? And you can understand that. I think that each country, they have their own reason that why and how to use the energy consumption. Like a Lao PDR, have you seen what is the Vice President report? They talk about they have to in 2020 they have to no poverty by earning the money from selling the electricity to another countries like Thailand or to Vietnam.
Actually, I want to say that if you're looking at the rate of electrification in the country like Laos, okay, up to 60%. But Thailand is almost 100%. But country like Myanmar is 29%. Cambodia is also something 30%. But you see, those countries are the country that rich of energy resources. But instead of utilize the energy resource to electrify people, actually the energy resources are flowing to the country who already consume energy is very, very high consume energy like Thailand or China or Vietnam. So that is, but then I have a photo. I don't have a chance to show, but you will see very fundamental photo is Lao women carrying the field of wood, right? And then on across her head is a transmission line that connect dams in Laos with Thailand, right? Which is she still, have no electricity and have to rely on fuel wood.
fuel.
But her home, her farmlands are,
Supplying to Bangkok.
yeah, change to the produce electricity and supply to Bangkok. That's a very, very common phenomenon in Myanmar, in Laos. So that is the one thing. And then when you think about the consumption, what he say, all of this, according to the Ministry of Energy of Thailand study, we have at least 30% of potential to do more efficient use, like the department store. Average that they use now is about 500 units per square meter per year, which is an average. Standard and national standard can be around 200. Or even they say, if you want to do more efficient one, you can do 100, which is mean that we can reduce from that, which is everything still the same. You still have a light as what you want. You still have air condition as you want. But this is about the technology and about the management of how can you do the demand side management, which is we have plenty of potential to do it in Thailand, and that will be bad for everyone, win-win. But we are not doing that.
Any more questions? Yes, Joanne.
Hi, my name is Joanne. I'm a student of sustainability here at Jula. So my question has to do about the energy consumption or reduction of it, actually. Like events such as Earth Hour, I don't want to be critical of it, but yes, one hour a year that we turn off our lights and live a life, an hour in darkness, and then the statistics come out like how much energy has been saved all around the world. You're talking about how can we, the users of electricity, reduce our usage. I don't know if that's an effective campaigning, but what are the ways that we can try to do this, spread the awareness on it?
How do we save energy?
Yeah, you're right. Actually, the Earth Hour is just awareness campaign. It's not really make any sense. Technically, not much, and that is saving a fuel energy, right? Not saving a capacity. But actually, when we're doing, we have to do both. If we don't want to build a new dam, new coal-fired power plant, right? We are not only switch on 1 hour. We have to select that, like in this room, actually how much we need, instead of we just do whatever, right? For example, if you need a light at this level, what is the best choice that you do on that? And that is something we reduce both capacity, demand capacity, and also energy. And this haven't done in the real political term. But actually, EGAT have done some campaign on, I don't know, you might heard about the number 5. I have to say that, there's some good work on that, but when the electricity preserve margin are not too high, whenever the reserve margin are too high and the price, the total amounts that they sell is too low, then they're not campaign anymore. They just, let it go.
Okay, yes, please. Can you use the microphone?
Hi, Liam Fee from UN Habitat, based here in Bangkok. I think electricity consumption is bound to rise because we have some of the world's most rapidly growing economies in this region, and to fuel that economic growth, we have to consume more electricity. And I think hydropower, as was mentioned by the Deputy Minister from Laos, is a greenhouse gas emission-free way of generating. Yeah, I know. Okay, but it's better than coal. It's better than burning diesel. It doesn't release much greenhouse gas emissions. But I wonder if anyone on the panel has any good examples of where hydropower has been done in other countries with little or no environmental impact and little or no social impact, and whether there is any learning from those other countries, wherever they are in the world, that can be imported and applied here in the region, be it Thailand, Cambodia, Laos.
Any good dams out there? But we have a lot of dams in Thailand. So.
I mean, you know, a decade or so ago, there was this whole process of the World Commission on Dams, right? There's a sort of huge amount of information there that you can dig back into. And yes, there were some examples of dams that are better than others. Of course there are. But I think at the end of the day, you know, it's always context specific, right? You can't be talking about one size fits all. And when you're looking at the Mekong, you're looking at a large tropical river which has, you know, the highest inland fisheries production of anywhere in the world. And you have millions of people, poor people, who are dependent on those fisheries. So that trade-off between power development and fisheries becomes a huge, huge issue, especially when you're saying that we're doing that power development to generate income, to invest in economic development of the countries, to lift them out of poverty. But in the short term, the most direct impact is already on the poorest people who are dependent on those fisheries. So it's a very difficult balance to achieve and a very difficult trade-off. But I think, you know, as I say, it has to be context specific. And actually, I mean, in many ways, if you're going to build dams anywhere in the Mekong system or in any large tropical river system, all things considered, the higher up in the system you build them, the less impact they'll have. So actually, all other things considered, the dams in China, you know, have less impact on biodiversity, less impact on fisheries, less impact on livelihoods than, for example, the Sambor Dam will have in Cambodia. That's not to say they're good dams and they should go ahead. But again, you know, I think there will be more hydropower development in the Mekong region. That's clear. As you say, we need more energy. Part of that energy will inevitably come from hydropower, although we should be looking for all the other options as well. But the trick should really be about, okay, which ones do we look at first and which ones do we look at later? So which are the dams which give us the highest amount of power for the least amount of environmental and social impact? But at the moment, it's not being done that way. It's being done, you know, by other political or economic forces, the investors, the financiers, the political interests at play, saying, okay, we want to do this dam. I mean, the Don Sahong Dam, for example, is tiny. It's going to produce 200 and something megawatts, which is nothing in the big picture of energy demand in the Mekong region. But it will potentially have huge impacts on the fisheries. It will spell the end of the Mekong dolphins in the Mekong River, and so on. So is that really worth it for 240 megawatts? I think you could find 240 megawatts in another way that doesn't cost you anymore and has less impacts. And that's the kind of analysis that we really don't see being done. Looking at the system as a whole and seeing, okay, which are the smart ones to do first, and which ones should we wait until later, until, you know, if we really need so much more power and there's no other choice by the time we get to that point, then okay, we have to accept it. But I don't see that happening.
Yes, please. You borrow somebody's microphone. Thank you. Can you press the button?
Hi, I'm Pes from IUCN. I think I just like to comment 2 points. I think on the EIA point, it has always been a problem. I think one thing you mentioned about this approach is really developed from the Western country. I think one thing, I don't say it better, but they have a lot of long-term information in terms of what is there, you know, to really trying to see what might happen when the project happen. But a lot of projects, from my experience in Thailand, especially in protected areas, that we have so little information. So basically, when we try to do the assessment, you have 1 year to complete the baseline information, as well as trying to guess, you know, based on information you have, what might happen. So that's why I think EIA process is always a problem. Second thing, I think the big picture, you know, as many people say about, like, many dams are so small, but it's so big impact. And then you look at the West, you know, you look at the US, there's a systematic plan about dam removal in terms of trying to restore the river ecosystem. And then we doing exactly opposite, you know, and maybe 50 years from now, we start doing the dam removal process, but at what cost, and, you know, who's gonna pay for it? That's
Thank
it.
you. Any reaction to that comment? Yes.
Hi, I'm Kanokpon. I'm from Kinnan. I would like to share about my idea. Okay, I understand the dam is very important for the economic and industrial, right? And I think we should have like a energy reservation fund or something, and the people who get the benefit from these levers or the thing that like the energy or electric, they must to pay, and you can. Is it possible that we will set up the mechanism or something and charge this cost and the social cost or anything cost into the project, and finally put into the consumer who would like to consume a lot, they have to pay. It's like I don't know if it's possible. It's like you have a fund and it run together parallel with like okay, it have someone that will become we will get the effect from the dam or anything, and okay, we will have this fund to help them.
A fund for those who are
Yeah, it's
impacted.
like you know, when the dam they build up for the economic and industrial reason, right? And the people will get the benefit from this project. And okay, finally there is the person they should subsidize the cost that happen, not the social. Not the society, in my opinion. I think that.
Yeah, I can respond to that point. In some country, you might heard that you can buy electricity from particular company or from
Sources.
power plant sources, right? And you might be willing to pay more expensive if you believe that this is more green to produce or whatever. They are not have such a system like that in this region. Why? Because of we are monopoly. So EGAT own the transmission system, which will be only this is they call monopoly, right? Only buyer from the whole source, right? And then you don't know which one is the electricity that you use. You have no connection. There are no flow. Which is, in some country, what they do is they call third-party access to the transmission system. It means that you can, the generator can pay, like you pay the tollway. If you want to transport your electricity to someone, right? In this Thai or regional system, there are no that system. So I would say that the electricity, what you raised and many people, is about the democracy of the system. Planning. How can we have democratic process of planning? How can the voice of the farmer, the fisherman, or whatever can have a voice in the planning process? How can the people who want to preserve or save the electricity can have a voice on that? No, we only have an expert. We're talking about list cost, which is again, it's not really work in the system that why we have to take long, the electricity from far away, from another country to serve us. And we know that it's lost when they travel along the line, right? We lost electricity. So all of this is not really a smart way of using or operating electricity. So I would say that actually there are many ways that how, all of us can participate. That is what I call, we have to be, know your power. You have to know your power. So that is be the theme that we should campaign.
Thank you. Kun Shrik, is the smart grid
Yes,
a
I
solution?
have this picture that explain of the transmission line in Thailand. It's about 32,500 circuit kilometers. It's like a web all around Thailand. And at the moment, you not know that you use electricity from which power plant here right now. But for the stability of the electricity in Thailand, they connect of the every power plant belong to IGAT or belong to IPP or independent power producer or from another countries, Laos, PDR or from Malaysia. But like Dr. Jun talked about who produce the electricity. But for the IGAT is we have our own transmission line for the stability of electricity. And can you see the firm of the transmission line? They can connect to neighboring country like Laos, like Malaysia. Can be there. If you look further for the AEC, we can be the like a connection of the every country. Yeah, national grid, international grid.
Would this be a smart grid?
Yes, smart grid. Yeah.
Actually, when you're talking about smart grid, right, there are centralized grid and decentralized grid. We have a centralized grid, which is at the national centralized grid, which is only one center to operate. Everything is at IGAT. Right? But then now ADB are promoting called regional grid, which is not only one country but connect to other country. Again, this is centralized grid. They will have only one regional operational center to operate the whole, right? Which is, these centralization cannot be smart. They're too big and too many, problem of that. But if they agree to open that for, I call open system, which is allow the decentralized system can be, merging on that. Like if you want to have a solar rooftop at your house, you changing from only consumer to become a producer too. And then if the grid or system allow you, and even support you that if you have produced extra, you can sell to the grid, and they give you some incentive. So that's such a system is, I cannot say that they are going to emerge in Thailand, but not fast as what I expect.
Okay, so we're running out of time. I would have time for one more question from anybody. Yes, please. Can you use the microphone? We can't hear you, sorry. Can't hear you. Can you just come to the microphone? Thank you. Mic. Can you press the button? Thank you.
Okay, I'm Wasu from the Nation newspaper. So there are just some basic questions that I would like to ask the representative from IGAT. So first of all, I know that economic growth play a major role here. So I would like to ask that one of the major dam, Sayaburi Dam, how much percentage of electricity that can supply to Thailand, and is it worth for it? How when we compare about the consumption here in Thailand,
How many
will it?
megawatts is
Yeah.
Sayaburi?
Sayaburi have a store capacity as about 1,000, only 1,000 megawatt.
1,000 megawatt, and how
1,000.
What percentage?
What
of
percent?
the whole-
What percent? How much percentage can it?
In Thailand, it's
Yeah.
about 25,000
Ah,
Not much.
25,000.
I said this picture show that the total import from Lao PDR is only 7%.
7%.
7%.
And her question is it worth it?
Yeah.
Is Sayaburi worth
But we have keep it power purchase agreement not more than 10%. Keep it.
So
That is served only in the northeast of Thailand, not the whole country.
Robert?
So, I mean, just coming back to this big picture of, how much energy we need and the different ways that we can produce it. I mean, apart from the fact that right now the cheapest form of new energy is demand-side management, which could generate several thousand more megawatts very easily at low cost. But beyond that, okay, we're seeing some moves now towards this solar rooftop, so on. Comparing, as you just said, the consumption in Thailand right now, demand is around 25,000 megawatts. Last year, Germany, for the first time, had 25,000 megawatts only from solar rooftops. So, a country like Germany, just from solar panels on the roofs of people's houses, can produce as much energy as the total energy requirement in Thailand. So it's not even sunny there, right? So what are we doing? What are we doing when we're destroying all the rivers and destroying people's livelihoods and the fisheries to produce electricity? When if we had solar cells on everybody's house roof in Thailand, how much more electricity would that produce?
So go back to the question again. Suppose the Sayaburi Dam project cannot push through successfully. Is there any other option of other energy source that we can use it instead here to supply the electricity in Thailand?
Most of the electricity generating in Thailand is thermal, not the hydro. Thermal. Thermal is the source from natural gas, lignite, coal, bunker oil, even nuclear. But it's not happen. But they put in the power development plan in the new one have nuclear.
The electricity that we import from Laos or neighboring country is not for security of our system at all. It's just for cheap energy. As he say, is the percentage of supplying is just less than 10%. And we are buying electricity from Laos. We're not buying a capacity. We're buying an energy. Again, this is a technical one. But anyway, it means that we use them only when we feel like, okay, they're cheaper than what we operate by ourselves. That is what the option. And then the function of hydropower might be used for what they call the peak load demand, which is in the Thailand, we will have seasonally peak of the year, which is about 2 weeks time. The electricity demand increased something like 2,000 megawatt in 60 hours, something.
During Songkran holidays.
Yeah, after Songkran or whatever, which is, mainly from air condition. And if we take the energy efficiency or demand side management to manage that easily, to solve that problem, which we call peak cut, but we don't do it. And one more thing that I might want to say, since 1997, Thailand have at least 5 times of the minus growth of electricity consumption. So the assumption that you mentioned, we have to need energy anyway because we have, economic growth. It's true in the past that we have like a exponential one. But actually now, even we have some year minus growth in 1997 economic crisis. And then when the US have the subprime, we also have a minus growth. And then European have economic problem, we also have a minus growth. And when we have flood in Bangkok, we also have a minus growth. So you can see this is a reality that we deal today, that it will not be like the plans, that's
Can I just very
Yes.
quickly say, though, that you have minus growth when you have minus economic growth. So when the GDP goes into recession, then your electricity consumption goes down. But I was making the kind of general assumption that what we're looking for is economic growth, and when we have economic growth, then we will have growth in power consumption.
But that is not always, you can decoupling between economic growth and energy consumption, right? Which is many countries do that. You can have energy intensity more, and then I have to say that in Europe today there are no more increasing of generation capacity, only replace the old capacity. It doesn't mean that Europeans they have no expect for economic growth.
Jillian, last question with the microphone, please.
I just wanted to ask again to the ECAT representative, going back to the solar point, because I'm also an international school teacher and I have a list of all the countries of the world. And again, we always kind of comment on Thailand's solar is just negligible, and we're a very sunny country. Are there any moves to develop solar with ECAT, and if not, why not?
Solar, you have to understand about the solar energy. They use plenty of area. 1 megawatt is about 40 acre for 1 megawatt. But in 1 year or 1 day they can generate of the solar cell from 9 o'clock to 3 p.m. only 6. But you use the electricity whole day, right? But they have to use many for example, reconstruction of the power plant, 1 coal-fired power plant, 1,000 megawatt. We use about 1,000 acre. But if the solar cell, they have to use 100 times. And each home, you mean the solar roof,
Yes.
right? They can use only that, but it's not enough.
Germany, it is enough. They're
Germany.
producing as much as the whole of Thailand needs just from solar roofs in Germany. And again, going back to your point about 40 acres per megawatt. But I'm sorry, but look at the size of some of these hydropower reservoirs. They are hundreds of square kilometers for how many megawatts. So I think you need to do the comparison of those.
But nowadays
uses
in
more
Thailand
area.
have no reservoir anymore for producing hydropower. No more constructing a new one. But they use it. I mean in Thailand. You talk about in Thailand. You said Thailand.
But yes, we'll be able to
Uh-huh.
sell rooftop
But we
energy
have
to
the
EGAT.
efficiency of the hydropower by generating of the powerhouse in the existing dam, like the dam that belong to the irrigation department. They release the water for irrigation, but EGAT have the MOU between EGAT and irrigation department to construction or construct of the powerhouse to generate. Not much, but we can generating of the electricity. 1 or 2 megawatt only.
So
I have to say that the solar use in worldwide it depends on how the support system, especially the incentive, which is in Germany, they use what they call the feed-in tariff system that can make sure the producer or the investments cost can be covered and having an incentive. Visit Thailand have that system too. And actually we have quite amazing increasing of the solar capacity now, up to I think 2000 or something very soon, which is leading in the Southeast Asia. But we can see that there are I mean, a lot of things that we can do better. With this, I would say that I expect that there will, I mean, more improvement.
We'll have to wrap up, so I'm going to ask each panelist to say their last words, beginning with Kunchirka. Any last words to leave with the audience before we wrap up?
I have to say on behalf of EGAT, representing from EGAT, the duty of EGAT is a state enterprise under the government. Our duty, our task is for serving, for the happiness for the Thai people to use electricity without blackout. Yeah, thank you.
Kumitun, last words.
I encourage you to know your power. Power is something you have to know, and I think power sector how to operate is not too difficult. We have to be active to participate on that, from planning, from implementing, or monitoring.
Thank you, Kat. And Robert?
Well, I'd just like to end with a crazy idea that just occurred to me. And if space is such an issue with solar cells, has anybody thought about the idea of having floating solar cells on the surface of all these reservoirs that we have? It's just dead water that's not being used for anything. We could cover the entire surface with solar cells, which would have an additional benefit of reducing the loss of water from the reservoir through evaporation as well.
Do we have any investors in this room? Okay. Yes, thank you so much to all three panelists. Let's give them a big applause. In showing a little appreciation from the